All right, hang on a second. There we are. All right, and we're on YouTube. All right, let me play this song here. Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Welcome back to the Subscription Show. I am Tim, here today live on June 22nd, 2023 with Jennifer Amell and Lance Reenstierna. How are you both doing today?
Great. Happy to be here.
Jen, don't you ever talk over the Angels. Oh,
Sorry.
it's like hearing Liquid Gold.
What does that sound like?
This Liquid Gold sounds like this. Darkness is coming for the top spot on the Apple Podcast charts. Is that not accurate, guys?
We're coming for Jason Bateman.
Coming for you, Jason Bateman. It was a whole goal the entire time.
And Rachel Maddow.
Rachel Maddow, look out.
So yeah, okay, so there's the song. Darkness is coming. Darkness is here, because we're talking about Dark Valley, the new podcast from Crawlspace Media that is tackling the top charts already, making a dent. So if you haven't heard Dark Valley yet, what are you waiting for? Go check it out.
It's the talk of the town.
Kind of is. Yeah, it's been a wild few weeks with this show because we were in New York City just last week with this podcast, Dark Valley, at the Tribeca Film Festival, their creators market, which Dark Valley was accepted into. So we were talking about Dark Valley a lot over the past couple weeks, and yeah, it's already been kind of a wild ride.
Absolutely. Our pitch is razor sharp.
It really is. Yeah.
What a cool experience at Tribeca, though, guys.
It really was.
Yeah. Big thanks to Kate Lemberg, who just organized everything when it came to how we were going to present Dark Valley, how we were going to pitch it, where we were going to be. Just a great organization within the Tribeca Film Festival. And those laurels are real, everybody. When you look at the logo on Dark Valley, we were sent these laurels. And Kate was like, here, you can use these laurels. And it was a little surreal, wasn't it? To put the laurels on the podcast as like an official selection. And you almost feel like it's not real. Like, is this an official selection of the Tribeca Film Festival? Like, well, yeah, they asked us to attend the Tribeca Film Festival. Like, it's officially selected to be there. And you commented that it was our pitch is razor sharp. It really is. Like, we really honed a slick pitch on this. We met some great people while we were doing so.
It's a funny moment kind of behind the scenes. So we got the laurels sent to us and like immediately put them on the show art, like on Megaphone, so you can see it on Apple, on Spotify and that stuff. And then our Glassbox marketing guy, Nick, texted me and he was like, do you have permission to put those on there? I was like, no, Nick, like I just grabbed them off the internet.
Just start throwing all the laurels on. You're like, did we really get accepted to Cannes?
Yep.
That's funny.
But hey,
so
huge thank you to everyone who's listening to Dark Valley, everybody who's commenting and rating and reviewing. It's getting really good ratings and reviews, and it is shooting up the charts. We had a pretty strategic plan to make sure that as many ears heard Dark Valley, Jane's story, Jen's experience with Jane, as she tells her story and the story of 8 other victims of the Connecticut River Valley murders. And it's all coming together. And it's all coming together because it's a fucking great show. And it wouldn't have if it wasn't a great show. But all of these elements kind of fell into place like well-oiled cylinders. Like that?
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. Not a mechanic, but
and I just got a text from shout out Susan
Shout out, Susan.
Yeah, who said Dark Valley is number 11 in true crime and number 29 in all podcast genres.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Very cool.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out, Susan. And also, we've got a live show tonight, and this is actually why we're broadcasting this subscription show today out to YouTube. It's broadcasting live to YouTube because tonight, in just 10 hours or 9 hours, we will be live here again with Jane Borowski, survivor of the River Valley Killer, an attack. And she is in Dark Valley, and we will be speaking with her tonight live right here on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to have questions for Jane. And Jane's pretty much an open book. Like, she'll field anything. I mean, be respectful, obviously. But yeah, she's releasing some reaction episodes on her podcast, Invisible Tears, to the episodes that are dropping on Dark Valley. So go check that out. That's like a really interesting take too. And like just internally, like her co-hosts, Amanda and Drew, had questions about the production of Dark Valley, her thoughts on, certain information that came up. So I think it's a really interesting kind of behind the scenes discussion, and I hope to continue that more in depth tonight on our live show.
Which we will. And that's at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on YouTube. Crawlspace or youtube.com/crawlspace is the place to watch that. And we'll be speaking with Jane. That'll be a lot of fun. But this episode also, though, I just want to mention, is part of our subscription package. If you are interested in subscribing, you want to hear weekly bonus shows, go to missing.supportingcast.fm or subscribe on Apple Podcasts to Missing, Crawlspace, or Dark Valley. All the same product. It's all bundled together.
We're like Progressive Insurance in that way. We like to bundle.
Yeah.
I also want to give another shout out to the folks at CrimeCon for helping us out by putting together this email blast that went out to all of their subscribers, their email subscribers for tonight's show. They had promotional material that we provided, and then they put it all together in this really nice package and sent it out. So hopefully we're going to get some great reaction from the CrimeCon people who have subscribed. And again, YouTube, Crawlspace podcast YouTube channel, really want to see everybody interacting tonight. But that brings up CrimeCon, which is taking place September 22nd to the 24th in Orlando, Florida. And guess who will be there?
Us.
And Jane, and maybe a couple of surprises. But we were going to be on Podcast Row. And if anybody is familiar with how they did it last year in Vegas, the Glassbox Media Company had their stage in Podcast Row, which is a breakout room, one of the bigger breakout rooms. And the live panels took place right there within the Podcast Row. And it worked out really well. Pretty sure they're doing it the same way this year. And we're going to present Jane's story at CrimeCon. So stay tuned for a promo code. I wish we had a promo code. We're going to have a promo code. It'll probably either be Dark Valley or Crawlspace, but we'll be getting a promo code for that. Don't buy your tickets until you get our promo code.
You want that discount. And we do too. So this is the subscription show. We usually talk about the behind the scenes happenings at Crawlspace Media with Crawlspace, Missing, and Dark Valley. Jen is here to talk about Dark Valley today. We can ask you some behind the scenes questions, but we also don't want to spoil anything tonight.
But
there's the butt drop. But yeah, we don't want to spoil anything tonight. But Jen, tell us in your words, what is this premiere week been like, or even go back 2 weeks? Like, is this surreal or what?
Yeah, you stole the word right out of my brain. It does feel surreal. I mean, especially because like we've all been working on this for so many years. I can hardly believe that it's like out there in the world and people can hear it and, hear Jane's story. Definitely didn't have any expectations about the reception of the show. Like I stand behind it. I think it's a great show, but you never know, right? It's a risk every time you release a new project out into the world. But holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so surprised.
Well, we asked here on these airwaves a couple weeks ago, and the listeners have delivered. We were saying we need to be in the top charts, not just the true crime charts, and we are in the top charts right now. And the reason is valid, because the bigger this show gets, the harder these cases are to ignore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a great hope out of this whole project, is to reinvigorate investigations that happen in New Hampshire and Vermont. I hope the state police and the attorney general are like listening. I hope they, I don't know, like I'm not holding out any hope that they're going to reach out to me and like open up all their case files or anything, but at least they know now that people care about these stories and they want to see movement in them.
And it's a domino effect too, because if it's Jane's case unrelated to Eva Morris's case and Linda Moore's case, other victims in the Connecticut River Valley murders, or Maura Murray, or on the other side in Vermont, Breonna Maitland, it's all a domino effect. It's Jane's story starting the dominoes from falling. And that's ultimately like the biggest goal. You did say, well, that's one of the goals. You did say you're not expecting them to open up their case files to you, but they might open up their case files to somebody who can who has a badge, who can start actually questioning some people and start making some movement. And of course, we'll be right there to cover that whenever we're able to. But yeah, let's really push this as like a domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's like real actionable information in this too. Like there are avenues you can go down, and like I'm definitely not sure what's going on behind the scenes with the state police or like what information that was on their radar. But if there's anything that they hadn't considered before, like this is stuff that you can look into. In my mind, if you've listened to the second episode, there was a watch found in the pocket of one of the victims, Betsy Critchley. I think that that's like pretty important. If she took that watch off of the person that abducted her and eventually killed her, like it could yield information. As it said in the episode, it could be something that jogs someone's memory. Oh, like my father, my brother, someone had that watch and he lost it in 1981. It's like, I mean, and short of that, like forensic evidence.
Well,
it's
yeah,
possible.
DNA needs to, these cases need to be sort of resubmitted for DNA, and I think a lot of time has gone by in these cases, and there hasn't been a project like this to put pressure on law enforcement about these cases, about sort of reopening them, or about whatever DNA or forensic evidence is available.
Yeah.
Watch.
What's that, Lance?
Oh, am I on mute?
You were. Wait, what's that?
Was I?
Yes.
Weird. Susan's on YouTube. She just asked if they still have the watch.
I don't know. That's something I sent in kind of independently, like highlighted that detail over to the New Hampshire State Police, but didn't receive a response, which is kind of par for course. But I'm hoping that they do.
Right.
You never know with these evidence lockers, right?
The alternative question is, what else would they have done with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we know from Jane's case that she was told a number of years ago that her evidence was lost. They couldn't locate it. We know now that that was just kind of a lazy answer and a very damaging answer, because her evidence wasn't lost. One of the detectives on her case said that something was mislabeled. So maybe it was like hard to locate or whatever. So it's like, short of a flood or a fire that actually destroys evidence, it's a bureaucratic nightmare of like labels and numbers and like where boxes are located and stuff. So it requires someone to get off their butt and find them.
Mm-hmm. Right. So get off your butts.
When
No.
you hear that it was mislabeled, how do you imagine that? Because when I hear it's mislabeled, I am literally seeing somebody with like a Sharpie, like labeling it and being like, "What is this?"
Probably.
Yeah, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? I imagine like some records were digitized somewhere along the way.
You are?
So,
What makes
You
you
have a lot of faith.
what makes you imagine that? No offense, any law enforcement that's missing, but I know this is a problem that they've spent years trying to digitize files. I definitely would not be surprised if none of those files have been digitized.
yeah, maybe. I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's any number of things that can go wrong. But yeah, that's what I was picturing too, Lance. Like somebody with a Sharpie just like getting distracted for a second and writing the wrong name or the wrong number.
Well, we know they store evidence in either a greenhouse or a basement that is right below the
They
gutter,
keep 'em
the
right in
rain
the
gutter.
Connecticut River.
Yeah. So either
Right in the
way,
basin.
it's going to get faded. It's going to get flooded. It's going to get condensation. So we know that. So that's probably partially why it was mislabeled.
They save it right at the base of like the town water supply station. That's like
Tower.
200 years old and in need of repair.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it flooded. Not sure how this happened.
I mean, honestly, and I know we're joking around a little bit, but that's all too common of a story, and really, it's kind of inexcusable. And I think we just don't accept that at this point, because we saw that it's not true. Well, we just saw that it's not the case too. Like in this case, like we know that a lot of times when jurisdictions or agencies say, "Oh, it's flooded" or whatever, we know that that's bullshit a lot of times, or we believe that it is. Well, now we just had proof in this case that they didn't lose the evidence. So they have at least some of the evidence. So,
Yeah. And can I just say, it's one thing to tell like the media or like a few podcasters that, we lost the evidence or whatever. But it's quite another thing to tell the victim this when like all their hopes are riding on the fact that this evidence still exists, that technology is evolving, that some DNA could be lifted from the existing evidence. So if you're going to tell that to a victim, like you better be damn sure that that's correct and that you're not just answering out of ease or laziness, because it's really affected Jane and like her whole, I guess, emotional trajectory in this process, right? It's like she lost her hope. She lost faith. She felt alone. She felt, that nobody cared. And that just sucks.
yeah.
Right? I mean, just like go down to the very fine details of her life. Right before that happened, she was at a fair. She was 7 months pregnant. She was, by all accounts, happy and content with her place in the world. And then she is literally like hacked up and left for dead. And then to get the people who are responsible for figuring out why and who did this, when they're like, well, it's law, or they're just so like blasé about it. Yeah, that's dejecting. Like my life was one thing going in one direction, and someone tried to end it and end generations of my lineage, and it's insane to just be left for dead by the hands of one person, but then be left by law enforcement as well.
Yeah, and Jane said it best too. Like I was just on the Invisible Tears show to talk about like pre-launch Dark Valley. And we talked through some details and feelings, whatever. And then at the end of that episode, Jane says, "Look, the fact of the matter is someone tried to kill me and tried to kill my daughter, and nothing has happened. No justice has been served." Like that's what we're talking about at the end of the day. Someone tried to kill her and did kill at least 8 other women.
Right. Yeah, and Susan here on YouTube says just watched a doc on Max. I think it's called Burden of Proof, where they said evidence was gone and possibly stolen, then they found it in the wrong file, and this was a 30-year-old case, similarly to the cases we're talking about. So, it's not gone. It's not gone. I mean, even when we heard that, we were like, no, it's not gone. But and I don't mean to sound like cocky about this or anything, but like who's throwing away evidence? Like I could believe it's flooded, with but I just don't believe it's gone. And frankly, it's just unacceptable either way. If that is the case, then you deserve to be reamed and dragged over the coals for that. So.
Right. Well, it's like these stories don't even stand out anymore because we hear it so often from law enforcement, that the evidence was mishandled in some way. So you cease to have that knee-jerk reaction, to be incensed because it happens so often. But it still deserves some reaction, strong reactions. No, this is your job. It's someone's whole job to maintain an evidence locker.
That's your job.
Exactly.
I was very, very happy that you went with that drop.
Thanks.
I mean, I know we're talking about a serious topic, but that was just a perfect setup.
Yeah. Some of these are drops. We got some fun ones now. But yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable. So I am glad that we're in a place where that's not, what Jane's being told now. And there's at least one police officer in New Hampshire who is really interested in solving this case. Look, I'm sure there are plenty others too. As we were talking about in New York, separately, individually, I think every single one of the New Hampshire State Police want to see these cases moved, and Vermont too. But the problem is when you get the whole institution together, that's when stuff is hard to move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just want to quickly shout out the Vermont State Police Cold Case Unit. They have moved a bit in an investigation. I don't want to, give too much away, and honestly can't really talk about it publicly right now. But they are acting on some information. So that's great.
Hush, hush.
Well played on that one.
It's like we had a plan.
Well, I wish Maureen Boyle would contribute to this conversation.
I've got allergies.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad.
It's that time of
Take care
year.
of yourself.
She's got allergies.
Take some Benadryl.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's been a lot going on behind the scenes here at Crawlspace Media, and this premiere of Dark Valley is very exciting, and this whole thing is not slowing down yet, and I'm not sure when it will either. So we're happy you're along for the ride with us. It's very, very important to us, and again, the more people that band together, the harder it is for these cases to stay unsolved.
Absolutely. Yeah. These stories only have power because people listen and care.
Yes.
Right. So this happened to Jane in 1988, and podcasting didn't exist then, and social media didn't exist, and just the way and just in case people were unaware, we didn't have cell phones back then. Yeah, it's like we asked the question early on, what took so long to get to this point? But this is what took so long. There was no way to alternatively tell this story so that as many people could hear it as possible until now.
Yeah.
It's a big undertaking. There's a lot of cases. This is not a project that, I think, again, we were talking about this recently. It's like if you could Google Connecticut River Valley murders and find some narrative that makes sense and you could talk about in a 45-minute episode, we would have done that years ago. I'm sure of it, because we've been looking into Maura Murray's case forever, and that always comes up when you're talking about Maura Murray's case or when you're looking into it online. But the truth is there was just nothing in an area or a situation where you could read it and believe what you're reading. This stuff is all over the map online.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of misinformation too. Yeah, so I mean, speaking to that, like it required kind of boots on the ground strategies, like old school, like digging in archives and libraries and going to people's
Microfiche.
houses. Microfiche, yeah. Yeah, and like all of our information relies on either interviews with the person it happened to, or a family member, or whatever, or primary source documents. So I'm pretty confident that most of our information is like vetted and you know is above board and not too like speculation heavy.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, we've listened to it. There's theorizing. There's like light theorizing. Everything's like put in place for a reason.
Yeah.
Every piece of information is put there for a reason. Yeah. So, fuck it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Don't step on our role too. We're the speculating people. So.
Yeah, leave the wild speculation to the pros.
Honestly, there's a place for speculation in true crime. Like that's half the draw of it. Like the allure is to talk about these things, and often good ideas come out of speculation. It's like, could this have happened? Could this have happened? And then that opens up another avenue of research too to back it up. So it's an important thing in the process.
Susan's asked a couple of great questions. The first one is, Jen, do you play guitar? And not only do you play guitar, but you contribute to Dark Valley with a couple of sweet guitar licks.
Yeah, my guitar playing is briefly in Dark Valley. I have no idea how to record instruments, so it sounds like shit. But yeah, played that bad to the bone riff.
Yeah, this is a great part. Is this episode 3 or 4 that's in, or?
I think it's 4.
4? Okay. Yeah, that part is great. I don't want to give it away, but really interesting stuff too.
Yeah.
In
addition to your great riff.
To your great
easiest
take
riff
on Bad to the Bone.
And Susan also asked, are Maura Murray and Brianna Maitland definitively, and those are both missing persons cases from 2004, are Maura and Bree definitively not part of these Connecticut River Valley murder cases?
Love where your head's at, Susan.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's obviously something we consider, and we absolutely cannot say definitively that they're not. I know we definitely dive into Maura's case in Dark Valley as it pertains to, those earlier cases in the 80s. Not so much Brianna Maitland's, since it was like pretty far, like away from the valley. It's like super, super north in Vermont. Yeah, but can't say for sure.
But John Philpin's looked into that case a lot, by the way.
Brianna's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think actually our first contact ever with John Philpin was in regards to Brianna Maitland's case. But he didn't really want to talk about it with us, at least.
That's surprising.
He actually told us he was like, just talk to Lou. He was like, which was funny because Lou was like, oh, you should talk to John Philpin about this. And we're like, oh, sure, we'll message him. And he was like, and talk to Lou about it. So we got sent back. But yeah, this is very exciting.
So we mentioned some future episodes. Do we want to say the first 2 are out today? The third one is coming out tomorrow, Friday, the 23rd. And then each episode is every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you subscribe, and then you have access to the first 7. And then there'll be sort of a recap episode for the public, right?
That's subscribing to the Apple Podcasts premium feed. You can listen to 7. And if you're not an Apple user, you can do that at crawlspace.supportingcast.fm. Those same 7 episodes are available on the Crawlspace premium feed as well.
Yeah.
Right.
There will be 12 episodes in total for season 1. But I think there's been some confusion on if all the episodes will be public. Yes, they will. Just have to wait a little longer.
Yes.
Yes.
We wouldn't dare.
Right. It's the standard. It's the standard method in which a lot of new shows will release their for the public episodes and their subscription service. So if you pay for the subscription service, you get early access. So we decided early access would be for the first half of the season. If you don't have that, you have to wait a week. It's like the old days of must-see TV, which is, just as fun. Like you get the anticipation of, listening on Friday. And then the second half will be subscription as well, right?
Yes.
Initially, and then it will be public.
Same way we're doing this. Right.
Yeah.
Good. I knew that. I just wanted to speak from a listener point of view. So someone out there is like, ask this question. So I did.
It's the talk of the town.
It really is. And I love how I can say that without moving my mouth. But you know who's super excited about Dark Valley and the conclusion and perhaps the season 2?
McDougal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped you on that one. We'll try to lay off the effects tonight, but we'll see. No promises.
No
Constantly interrupt Jane.
I've got allergies.
We know, Maureen. We know. Like hay fever or something. She just needs everyone to know.
Well, briefly, we should mention some of the other things that have been going on here at Crawlspace Media. This week, we have held a few great interviews. We spoke with Casey Sherman, author Casey Sherman, about his book Helltown, about the serial killer known as Tony Costa. Really great book. He's a local author too, so we love speaking with Casey. And that was a great conversation. I think that's coming out on Sunday on Crawlspace, so look for that. We also spoke with Danny Tipping and Ned Parker of I Am a Killer, that Netflix series, which is now a book that's coming out in September. A really good book too. Jen, did you ever check out that series on Netflix, I Am a Killer?
I didn't know, but I plan
It's
to.
really excellent. Yeah, like they stay away from like serial killers. They speak to people who were like involved in like a robbery and they ended up killing somebody, sent to prison for it, and then now they're talking about it. A lot of times they'll show remorse, but they also talk to the victim's family, the investigators, and the killer's family too. It's a really powerful series, so these guys really impressive group at Transistor Films.
And the book is
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the book is available September 5th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the book is going to be good.
Yeah, the book is great. And you did mention, I just want to reference Helltown again.
There's Helltown.
There's Helltown. This is a great story if you are a fan of Dark Valley. Dark Valley takes place in this time period, late 70s to late 80s. Helltown takes place a little bit before that, but I love the idea of like a period piece in this community. So this takes place in on Cape Cod, Provincetown, Cape Cod, 1969. Really cool. And Casey does a great job like painting that picture.
Yeah. And we also spoke with Jillian Lauren, who is the author of this new book, Behold the Monster. And she's also on the series, Joe Berlinger's docuseries, Confronting a Serial Killer, which is about Samuel Little and Jillian Lauren's connection with Samuel Little, which is pretty kind of terrifying, I have to say. Like, really unnerving how close they got, I guess you'd say. Like, and I don't blame her. I'm not blaming her in any way. She did it for the story and for the victims to try to uncover all of these victims that Samuel Little has had that are still Jane Doe's. But man, she put herself through the ringer to get this story.
I can't imagine that process. My goodness. She would have had to go into some very dark places. But I really can't wait to read that book. I think it's going to be super fascinating.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Talk about a moth very close to the flame on that. I think he died in terms of their relationship. I think he died at the right time in terms of their relationship. Like, I don't know, like, emotionally how much further she could have gone having direct interactions with him.
She's his next of kin.
He made her his next of kin. So she has got like a warehouse, not a warehouse, a
storage locker.
facility.
Yeah.
She was like packed with his stuff.
Letters, his ashes, even. Yeah, he used to tell her he loved her, and she would say it back to him. Which, like, I feel like I wouldn't go that far, but I also have never been in a position where you're looking for like a story like that, and you're potentially going to make real life matches. She said something during that interview that was really kind of wild to hear. She said something like, every case or any case solved is worth the sadness I feel over this, you know?
Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah. Seriously. And look at, so she dedicates her book to the victims, but look at how many unknowns are there.
Oh, goodness.
Right?
I mean, I can't read it. It's a little pixelated, but I believe you.
Yeah. Well, get a better camera. But she had said that a lot of these unknowns and a lot of people who work in the sex industry are classified as like the code is like
NHI. I think she said no humans involved.
No human involved.
It's like when they find a doe, basically, when they find a dead body that was a sex worker, apparently, is kind of what she was saying. Gotta listen back to that. But yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Right from the jump, when looking into one of these cases, there's a dead body. Right from the jump, you've classified them as not a human. So there you go. How do you think that's going to get solved? The terrifying thing is that Sam Little like identified that pretty immediately.
Yeah. I wonder if he was, one of the first to kind of go after victims that, wouldn't be not missed, but there wouldn't be a whole lot of like community pressure to solve the case.
I would say intentionally, yeah. He probably is one of the first to have done that.
Right. Oh, that's horrible. What a complicated journey for that author to go on. Her name's Jillian?
Yeah, Jillian Lauren. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine like you want to find compassion for everyone if you're, a decent person. And I imagine that's really conflicting for her to know the horrible stuff that this man, Sam Little, had done, and like still find the humanity in him enough to like I wonder if it was genuine, like connecting with him on that level, or if it was all, a charade to get the story. I bet it got confusing at some moments.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, because she talked to him very often, but she was pretty clear that she was doing it for the story, and she even told him that. Said something like, "Am I going to buy you a TV, Sam?" Or he asked her, "Are you going to buy me a TV?" And she said, "I don't know. Am I, Sam?" And then he's like, "All right." And then he started confessing. That was apparently what happened right before he started confessing to her.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Everything was very transactional.
Right. Yeah.
Good goddamn.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit more in a future subscription episode when that conversation with Jillian is being released and the public can hear it. I think that's a couple weeks away, or maybe 1 week away. I'm not really sure, but we'll look it up. You'll find out if you're a subscriber here to the premium show.
That's right.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't have anything else, guys. Do you have anything else?
But.
But well, hey, don't forget about Missing in Crawlspace, everybody. I know that everyone's super excited about Dark Valley, but hey, just because Crawlspace and Missing aren't in the top 25 overall podcasts in the world,
Yeah, or in the
doesn't
country.
mean you
at
should
least.
ignore them.
Yeah. Yes, and thank you, Lance, because we do have a great episode of Missing out today with David Robinson, who is, of course, Daniel Robinson's father. And this is a guy who has worked incredibly hard over the last 2 years to try to find his son, who
Such
has
a
been
kind
missing.
man, too.
He is, yeah. And Daniel's been missing since almost exactly 2 years from Buckeye, Arizona. And there are some twists and turns that we speak with him about. He's also holding a live candlelit vigil tomorrow night, Friday night. That'll be the 2-year anniversary of Daniel's disappearance.
Right. So the website is pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, right? And you can get all of the links for that at that site. And also that campaign, mailing in letters, and just helping to spread the mission here.
Yep, the mail-in protest.
No reason why he's not found. It's infuriating.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well,
one quick thing. If you haven't listened to this week's Crawlspace,
yes.
here's a little teaser. Here's a little teaser of what you're going to hear on this week's Crawlspace.
I'm fine. I'm fine if the seat's a little damp.
For context on that, tune in. It was released yesterday. A couple of new friends, Courtney Bell and Jillian Lee Garner from the podcast I Met My Murderer Online. It is a great podcast, and they do a really good job. It sounds like it shouldn't be great. This is not an insult at all. It sounds like it shouldn't be a great podcast, but they really go about it the right way. And that is a very relevant quote there from me.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. If you're listening to this on Thursday, June 22nd, before 8 p.m. Eastern, tune in. YouTube.com/Crawlspace. And we'll see you tonight at 8 p.m.
Maureen, are you going to join in?
I've got allergies.
So you're not going to join in? Jeez. She must have really bad allergies.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. We will see you next week.